Hello, Governor. This is Rakasti, new from the Ville, and we're here to talk about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love. But first, let me tell you a little story. When I was teaching, we had a student who was sick. Now, because there's, privacy, we didn't know exactly what they were sick with. What they told us was that it wasn't contagion. What they told us was that it wasn't contagious, so none of the staff or any of the other students were at danger, but it was a severe illness to this student. So in turn, she may miss days or maybe even weeks of school dealing with it, and when she was healthy enough, she would come to school. It didn't take long for the students to start to understand why she missed so much. It wasn't like she was a problem student. But at the same time, when she was at school, you hardly ever knew anything was wrong with her. Like, she always had a smile. She was always on. She was attentive. She, raised her hand, asked questions, jumped in a group work, was just a light in the classroom. You could always tell that if you looked at her long enough, you could tell that she was masking her pain with a smile. She kept on a brave face for herself and for her classmates. And I remember we had a project in class where you had to talk about your future dreams, future aspirations. And she gave a grandiose explanation of all the things that she wanted to do in the future, traveling the world. And I mean, it sounded like something straight out of Lara Croft. It sounded like a video game. But it's one of those things, is like when she got through saying it, I'll never forget it. She turned around and looked at me. Because I think I was one of the few people who knew actually what was going on with her. And it was one of those kind of looks, like at first it was a look like, please don't say anything, don't blow up my spot. Which I never would have done anyway. But then the more I looked at her and the look that she had on her face, it was kind of a mix between that was what she actually wanted to do and maybe a slight glimmer of hope, like that was what she was hoping that she would still get an opportunity to do. She passed about a month after that assignment. My other students were devastated. And they got upset because how could she not tell them something was wrong with her? And I think, if you have any sort of discernment, if you truly cared about her, you always knew. But is it because you don't want to face an uncomfortable conversation or uncomfortable situation? So maybe it's just more convenient for you to lie to yourself. Let's talk about it. Hello, Governor. This is Rakasti, new from the Ville. I'm here to talk about Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love. Now, if you rock with me for a while, you know that I usually do a short story, a recap, then I do a quote, some personal thoughts, and then we out. But I'm not going to do that. I told a short story. I'm not going to do the long recap. Recap's going to be super short. I figured you've already seen the episode. If you're here, you've already seen Centel and my reaction, or you've seen it somewhere else. If you haven't seen Centel's reaction with me, go into the description. It's there. But if you go watch the video now, come back. Bring your ass back. Or you can do it afterwards. Whichever. In this episode, Dina and Bella are Dina and Ellie are trying to sneak in to get behind enemy lines, and they see there's a building on the map that seems like it has no security. Now, we know from an earlier episode that that is the hospital, and they shut down the hospital because of the spores in the hospital. So Ellie and Dina are going through the hospital, and they end up having a problem. They run into a large group of stalkers. Ellie explains to Dina about the stalkers. They come up with a plan. Dina locks herself in inside of a cage, but there's stalkers on it. They're pulling the cage apart. Ellie is fighting her ass off against many stalkers, but because she's immune, they bite her. It doesn't mean shit. And then out of the blue, out of nowhere, Jesse comes up, saves their ass. He takes them out, but it's so loud. The wolves' forces are alerted. So Jesse, Dina, and Ellie get out of there. They end up fleeing and running into the woods, and they end up running right into where the Seraphites are. And the Seraphites, they were busy sacrificing some dude, cutting his whole intestines out, his entrails, and it was like a cult, like a satanic ritual type John. And let's say, to feel the mother's love, baby. I don't know what the hell they had going on. You're just cutting people's intestines out. It's nasty. You making human chitlins. Ew. But the Seraphites get alerted to their presence. They start chasing them. Now, they only got bows and arrows. They shoot an arrow. They hit Dina. She's injured. They help her back. They get split up. So Jesse helps her back to their spot. Ellie runs into another building and runs into, of all people, Nora. Her and Nora get into it. They get into a fight. She tracks her down. Now they're back in that hospital. They get on Nora's trying to get away, because remember, nobody knew. They just sealed up the hospital, told everybody stay out there. So they get on the elevator. It goes down to the floors that have the spores on them. Now, of course, that doesn't affect Ellie, but Nora instantly gets some spores in the system. She gets sick. She's infected. It's bad. Ellie catches up with her, and Nora tells her, Abby did what she did. I don't agree with what she did or how she did it, but, Joel killed her dad. Nora finally figures out that it was because of Ellie. Ellie is her. She's not infected. And there's like, holy shit, you're the one. Ellie says she always knew what Joel did. And then she gets a pipe and decides to beat the dog shit out of Nora to get her to fess up and tell her where Abby is. You know that I love my quotes. So I only have one today, and it's from Dostoevsky. And he says, above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and believes his own lies becomes unable to recognize the truth, either in himself or in anyone else. I call this particular media therapy deep dive Lie to Myself. What is it that makes people unable to recognize the difference between their lies and the truth. Or more aptly put, the truth and their truth. Because sometimes you're so busy lying to yourself that you take the truth and wrap it in this intricate weave of a lie to the point where you believe your own bullshit. You know, that story I told at the beginning about one of my former students, it was heartbreaking. And when I was thinking about that story, the first thing it actually made me think of was Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was extremely sick. He had cancer, and he kept it hidden from all of his co-stars and people he worked on set with. Even when he lost weight, people thought that it was kind of method acting. He lost weight for a role, and he showed up every day. And we have no idea how sick he really was when he got back to his trailer, but when he was on set, he was on, and he brought the fury and the thunder that was him in his acting performances. And no one knew how sick he was until he passed, and it caught everyone by surprise. He masked his pain with a smile, with his work ethic. You know, it made me think about my student. Like, why did she mask her pain with a smile? Is it really because you don't want everybody all up in your business? Is it because you want to put your best foot forward? There's another actor that was just recently on Daredevil Born Again. I got to know him on a show he was on called All American, Camar de los Reyes. And he was extremely sick. And you saw the evolution. You saw him getting sicker and sicker on All American. He was one of the coaches on All American. So you saw the end product of how sick he was. And then you saw a version of him being sick in Daredevil Born Again. And when he passed, it made me think, why do Chad Boseman, why did Camar de los Reyes continue to work up until their final days? Were they lying to themselves? Did they think that if they stayed with the work that they would have lasted longer and maybe the problem that they had would go away? But I don't think that that's it at all. I think it's a different type of strength for them. I think the problem with most people is that we lie to ourselves in a way that we can't recognize the difference between the truth and our own version of the truth. You know, when you're dating and you're getting to know people, and they said that usually it takes like 6 months for you to actually get to know someone. And that's because once your defenses come down, once your maybe, I don't want to say inhibitions, but once your defenses come down and you get a little bit more vulnerable, you start to figure out who a real person is, not the representative they sent to meet you. Because the representative is trying to do everything right. They're trying to say everything right. They may even be the type of chameleon who they don't like none of the shit that you into, but they'll say that they do just to get closer to you. Maybe they have an agenda. Maybe they just want to get an opportunity to know you. But why go in with these falsehoods? It's because you lie to yourself. Do you have any discernment? Do you know that this person in front of you is full of shit? Or maybe it's you so busy being full of shit that you can't realize that they full of shit. Now, I say all of that to say that this entire time we've been watching this show through the lens that Ellie was mad at Joel for like 5 years since the incident in Salt Lake City. Because in her heart of hearts, she knew what Joel did. She knew he was lying to her. But she buried it. She buried it deep down to continue to live the lie. She was the cure that could have saved humanity, the world, from this deadly infection. And Joel, it was selfish. But who's to know how you would act if it was your kid? And we can say all day that Ellie isn't actually his kid. He's taken on the role of being her surrogate father. And if you've ever had kids, people that mean that much to you in your life, the role is the role. I don't know what I would have done in that instance. Save humanity or sacrifice my child. I don't know. But she lied to herself. She lied to herself all the time about how she truly felt about Joel, that she loved him like a father. And in these final moments we saw her with Nora, the veil is broken. She gets to say out loud what she really feels, what she really means. She knows what Joel did. And still, in all of that, I was mad at him. I was furious. But before I had a chance to fix it, you came and violently took him away from me in front of my eyes. Yes, Joel shot Abby's dad. She didn't have to watch it. And yes, these two things are not equal. And understand that violence begets violence. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And there's a cycle going on here. Where does it stop? At the end of the day, you have to figure out where your lies end and where the truth begins. And you can't do that if you're lying to yourself. This is Rakai Steed, new from the Ville. Make sure that you share this as much as possible. Make sure that you like it. Leave me some comments on what you think about this episode, about what I said. And if for some reason you have not subscribed, do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Go back and watch some of these other episodes. The Last of Us, Forever, Doctor Who, Invincible. There's a lot in here. Something I say might resonate with you. At the end of the day, it's all about this. But even more importantly, it's all about this.